I've been wanting to record a podcast for a while, and I just kind of forgot to, because every time I go to record a podcast, I get called in to do some sort of a media thing where either I record the podcast that I do over at the Washington Times, The Right Opinion, or I get called in to fill in for David Webb at Sirius, or I get called in to do TV, and there's something other than my own podcast that I pay attention to. So here we are, probably 4 months later, after the last time I recorded a podcast. I can't even remember. I think the last one was the dating one I did. That doesn't matter. That's not why you guys are here. You're here to hear my opinion on something. And of course, I have something to talk about today. Something that's been bothering me, actually, for a while. But before we get to that, you guys are listening to the No Things Considered podcast. My name is Tim Young. You probably know me from at Tim Runs His Mouth on Twitter. Also, Fox 5 DC, Washington Times. What else do I do? Sirius XM. I basically work all the time. That's the whole thing. When I went to record this podcast too, I have this big fancy microphone that I always use. I love this microphone. I bought a new computer. I was very excited for it to connect, and I went to connect it, and for some reason, I don't know what's going on with it. It just like they're skipping. I think there were problems with skipping before. Listen, if you guys hear like errors in this, the last thing, you don't have to tell me. I know I'm a perfectionist. I'm my own worst boss. I was telling somebody the other day I might be the worst boss I've ever had. I'm ridiculous about things. I make sure things are meticulously combed over. But when it comes to these podcasts, I know that they've had audio issues in the past, and I just let it go because I'm like, what? Look, I'm going to get it out there. I'm not asking for anything for it. I'm just handing it out there and just publishing my thoughts. So, deal with it. So let's talk about what I want to talk about today. It's coronavirus and the insanity about it. Including the stock markets and the oil markets and everything else that's going on. I'm no expert on this stuff. I just watch it. I know what trends are. I know how things work. And if I were you guys, and probably for myself this week, I'm watching to see what stocks go on sale, and I'll probably throw in some money because when it goes down like this, it's going to pop back. Once the coronavirus scare goes, once the oil markets shift back around. And by the way, I've never seen more people upset about oil prices being low before than I have in the past few days. I mean, like, it's great for travel. Most of us, it does not affect the bottom line of, and it'll only help us when we go, like, if you want to go take a vacation, if you want to fly somewhere, if you want to do whatever, it's fine. But I want to talk about, again, I've said this 15 times, I want to talk about coronavirus and the insanity with it because I've seen so much just misinformation and everything that's out there. And I'm not going to be a medical professional here, but let's start with this. If you're not washing your hands, what's wrong with you? Who's out there, like who's dirty, who's going to the bathroom and in a public restroom and not washing their hands? Like, why are you not putting your hands under some hot water with the free soap and doing something about it? Look, I wouldn't say I'm a germaphobe, but I'd say that I'm pretty close. A couple of years ago, I was tweeting about this today. A couple of years ago, I had a contract. I was doing some consulting for a business in Georgetown, and there was a historic building that we were in, and I got skin infections. I had one, my thumb doubled in size, and it was like from a micro cut, and the doctor looked at it, and that can get pretty scary pretty quick. And he like got the pus out. It was disgusting. And then the infection went away after washing my hands and using hand sanitizer a million times a day. But then it must have been something in the building. I don't know who like did the construction on it or whatever. Or the remodeling of it, or whatever they did. Another finger of mine blew up, a middle finger on my left hand, which I enjoyed showing people how it was swollen for a while. But that really, really got to me. And since then, I've been kind of a super germaphobe because you realize how quickly things can go south when you get a bacteria in you or a skin infection. Like, it gets bad fast. It's very uncomfortable. Things swell up. It's not good. So I freaked out about that, and I freak out about all sorts of germs and stuff, but I'm out and about with the coronavirus. I went to CPAC. I know somebody at CPAC had it. Every time I go to CPAC, I come back and have flu-like symptoms. Like I've been to CPAC many, many times, and I've had flu-like symptoms every time. I don't believe that I had coronavirus, but I got over something. I had something in a couple of days, and right after CPAC, every time I travel, I feel gross for a couple of days. It's just one of those things. Like, I don't know if it's like circulated air in planes or whatever else. Usually hits me for like a day, and like I feel dry, and and I wonder, maybe I had it and I'm over it. For all we know, everyone has had it and gotten over it. And that's one of the things with this misinformation with coronavirus that I think a lot of people need to pay attention to, is that The news is reporting like it's like 3,500 deaths worldwide, which is like nothing, really, in the grand scheme of things. And before anybody says, I'm so sick of people saying, like, when I talk about this stuff too, that like I hate old people and I want people to, I don't want anybody to die. It's so stupid. And most of the deaths in America are in that one retirement home, which is really sad. In I believe Washington. That's really sad. It's awful. It's bad that it affects old people and people with weak immune systems. Death is bad, but the flu kills a lot of people too. And there are a lot of problems in the world that affect old people and people with weak immune systems. One day I'll be old. God knows what diseases will be around then if I don't get hit by a bus ahead of time, or killed by one of the people who threaten to kill me all the time. So it's. I just look at it and go, this is tough, but I think in reality, you have to remember the estimation and the confirmed cases are known cases. There are probably a lot of people like me who, when they go to conferences like CPAC, always feel kind of crappy for a couple of days afterwards, and they get over something. Anytime you interact with lots of people, there's always all sorts of things around. And I bet a lot of people who are very healthy, felt crappy for a couple of days, probably had coronavirus and got over it. It is everywhere. This thing is everywhere. And the fact that I keep seeing over and over again this like panic that, a very small percentage have died, I guarantee you that by the time this is all said and done, the numbers of deaths, the percentage is going to be lower than basically everything else out there, like the flu, like SARS, stuff like that. There's nothing to worry about. And the fact that markets are freaking out, I know oil was partially because of Russia lowering prices, or Saudi Arabia lowering prices or whatever, and that's, this is all just being blown up and over exaggerated. I know people are making like special websites for it. They're doing like special like nonstop content for it. Look, it's clickbait. And when you look at like I was in digital marketing for years, and I know how to move a needle. You have 3 ways to do it on the internet. It's health, wealth, and love. That's why you have dating sites. That's why you have get rich quick schemes and ways that you can make money. And then of course health and scaring people with like not dying is a good way to get people to watch your shows. So when I take a look at what's going on, and you take a look at how things are being reported, they're not saying 99% survival rate. They're not saying 98.5% survival rate. They're not talking about all the people who are recovering. They're not talking about the fact that some of the temporary medical facilities in China no longer have to be open because everyone's recovered. Look, it's the flu, and it spreads quick, sure, but the mortality rate from it, if you were to say 1%, if you were to say that there was a survival rate, if you were to say anything other than thousands of people died, because a lot of people have trouble putting that into perspective, people wouldn't care, and it wouldn't be the headline news every day. It wouldn't be a talking point that people would try to slam Trump with. It's just, that kind of stuff, it bugs me. I think that it's, sure, you're telling the truth, but you're spinning it in a way that scares people. And it's troubling, and it's made people very paranoid, and people are going and buying stupid stuff from the stores, and like, suddenly they decide they need soap. I mean, come on. You don't already have soap? You don't already have hand sanitizer? Hand sanitizer dries my hands out, so I don't like to use it a lot. But at CPAC, when I was shaking hands, I was using hand sanitizer. I was there with David Webb. We're both very, very aware of health and bacteria, being healthy and worrying about bacteria. And like, David Webb shook hands with everybody all day long. Really nice guy. I shook hands with a bunch of people too. Not as many as him. Not as famous. But, well, not at the Sirius booth at least. But I was using hand sanitizer because I know about bacteria, and I also know that I touch my face a lot. And that's like, I always have to adjust my glasses. I'm rubbing my face now that I think about it. If you think about not touching your face, something on your face will like start itching in the next 30 seconds, by the way, and you will definitely end up touching your face. So just don't be dirty and you'll be fine. The fact that everybody's freaking out, this is honestly what this is turning into is a way to slam Trump, and that's That's where I see this going. That's where it's been going. They've been screaming. I don't think he could do any more. He committed $8.3 billion worth of work with Congress to pass legislation, commit $8.3 billion to research to get this thing figured out. You know, put together a response team, put the vice president in charge. We have the best scientists in the world here. The CDC, all of our even private companies are working on it because they know it's good money if you find the cure. Capitalism works, folks. So I'm not worried at all about this stuff coming out. And yes, that includes when I say I'm not worried for Americans as well. I'm not saying that I don't like someone or I want someone to die, which is the dumbest thing. People on Twitter are so stupid in their comments. And I respond to some of them. I can't respond to all of them because I don't want to waste my followers' time on Twitter. That's one of the things. I'll respond once in a while and I'll have some fun and quote tweet and you know, dump on people when they want to say something ignorant. But like some of the comments I've seen and some of the scare tactics are so stupid. All these comments, I've seen things, people sharing articles too about hospitals are going to be overrun and all of these like fear tactic things. Don't buy into that stuff. That is irresponsible that you found one person that's sort of a medical professional that said, that's not really a medical professional, but like I think somebody was like a food and drug person and they were like, oh my gosh, all the hospitals are going to be overrun in a couple of weeks. That's irresponsible. Saying that there's going to be quarantines coming. Look, I'm looking at Italy and they're overreacting. They're absolutely overreacting. There will not be quarantines here. There won't. I just, it's not going to get, look, it's bad. It's going to spread. But when the actual facts come out and we realize that so many people already had it and it's been around for a while, I don't think there's anything to worry about. I don't. Not if you're staying clean. If you're a dirtbag that's, you know, licking doorknobs and eating food off the floor and whatever else. Yeah, probably you should go to the doctors or something and get some. I don't even know. Just get vaccinated for everything. Get some blood tests and just get tested for everything because you probably got something with the bacteria you have all over yourself. But stop panicking about it. I have an article coming out in the Washington Times this week about it, and I think you guys should listen to it. Like it's just, I keep groaning when I think about it because it's just so annoying. It's so annoying that's where we are, that we have to say, hey, don't panic. This isn't the Black Plague. People aren't, you know, I saw earlier people were sharing videos that look like Cloverfield, you know, the movie Cloverfield, where this monster took over New York and people were like exploding. And I saw these videos like that were like unsourced. They were just videos. Many people were irresponsibly sharing them on social media. And I look at it and I'm like, where is this coming from? And no, you're not going to explode and be thrown into a van and murdered by the government if you have it. And I feel like that is so irresponsible. And this is where you get me. Like, I'm all for free speech. I'm all for it. But you start to get me when I see like paranoia and disinformation being shared just for clicks and content. You start to get me. You start to get me on the side of Twitter banning people. And I know you're going to be like, oh no, he said banning people. But if you're going to spread misinformation that causes paranoia, like yelling fire in a crowded theater, I said this. I had the same thought and sentiment back when there was I believe it was the Gay Pride March 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And it spread on social media very quickly and people were yelling that there was an active shooter and it started a stampede and people were hurt. And I believe people should have been held responsible for that. I don't know why they wouldn't be held responsible for that. You're spreading misinformation or disinformation or whatever you want to call it. And there should be some sort of repercussions for that on social media or something. If you're pushing things to cause panic. I'm not a fan of it. At all. At all. It really does bother me. So yeah, I wanted to record this, and I'll do more of these more often, but I wanted to record this No Things Considered today because when I hear stuff getting spread about coronavirus and I see things getting spread about coronavirus that is just there to cause panic and get clicks, it troubles me. And it should trouble you too. And just pay attention, wash your hands, and pay attention to the CDC. They're not causing any panic anytime soon. And the numbers, if you look at it, the mortality rate is going down. Thousands upon thousands and thousands of people are recovering from it. There's nothing to worry about. So this isn't a sexy podcast, where I'm like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, everything is the end, we're all going to die. No, we're not, although I will use it as an excuse to go buy more bourbon. So that's that. Stop freaking out. Be responsible. And, why... Just always source things. When you hear things from someone, when you hear things from me, when you see things on the news, go figure out for yourself. Do your research yourself. Look at multiple articles. Don't just take one source for truth. Go both sides of the aisle. Look at CNN, look at Fox, look at MSNBC, look at all of them. I know that a lot of you hate it, but just take a look at all of the different perspectives on it, and then you be the judge. Because everyone is biased in media. Everyone reports a certain way. It's you guys have to be the smart ones. So with that, thanks for listening to No Things Considered. We're going to have more of these. My name is Tim Young. Follow me at Tim Runs His Mouth. Follow the Right Opinion podcast. Also, you can share this with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I'd love to hear more from you guys. You can comment on this as well. And we're looking forward to more of this in the near future. Talk to you soon.